Construction work is a physically demanding and rewarding job. As with any job, there are certain hazards involved. Experience has shown that accidents and injuries occur more frequently in certain areas. These accidents are preventable.
A careful, professional, focused attitude toward your work will help you to prevent injury and make the work go more smoothly and efficiently. Your employer cares about you and your safety and the safety of others on the job site. That's why they've included this safety video as part of your orientation and training. Think of it as another tool to help you do the job right. This video reviews job site safety topics, and we will take them one at a time. Every job, every workday must begin with care and attention to your personal protective equipment. We emphasize personal. It's your own safety that we're talking about, and you must take personal responsibility for having the right protective gear with you and using it properly. Your responsibility begins even before you get to the job site. Wear long pants, shirts with sleeves and work boots. Work boots are a specific kind of footwear. Be sure that's what you get for work, not hiking boots or any type of athletic footwear. Don't wear loose-fitting clothes, jewelry, or anything else that might catch on something or cause an injury on the job site. The most basic piece of protective equipment is your hard hat. Your hard hat and all personal protective equipment must be immediately available wherever you go on the construction site. You must wear it where necessary. Adjust them to fit your head snugly so they won't fall off. Wear your hard hat with the bill facing forward. The bill provides added protection for your face and eyes. Hard hats must be worn in all areas where overhead work is involved or where there are any overhead hazards, such as scaffolding, aerial lifts, ladders, and roof work. Wear them as you enter and leave the job site and when leaving or returning from breaks.
Eye protection is another important piece of protective gear. Eye protection is required when there is danger from flying objects or particles, such as sawing, hammering, drilling, grinding, or using powder-actuated tools. Eye or face protection is also required when working overhead or with splash-type chemicals, or installing materials that create dust or particles in the air, such as fiberglass insulation. Notice that effective eye protection equipment has side shields to protect you from an object coming at you from the side. Prescription glasses are good and help you to see better on the job, but they are not a complete system. Be sure you have a complete eye protection system working for you, safety glasses with side shields, and wear them when you are on the job site. Constant work around noisy construction equipment can cause hearing loss. To prevent this, wear hearing protection, such as earplugs. Wear them whenever it is posted that hearing protection is required. Wear them when the sounds in your work area are irritating, if talking requires a raised voice, or if there are short bursts of loud sounds, such as those from powder-actuated tools.
Another essential part of your protection is the respirator. It will protect your mouth, nose, and lungs. Wear it whenever you work with anything that creates excessive dust, or hazardous fumes. Refer to a product's material safety data sheet to see what type of respirator is called for. Remember, you are responsible to have your personal protective equipment in place before you start on a particular job. If any of them are not readily available, see your supervisor. Inspect your personal protective equipment before using it. Wear them properly and keep them with you as you work throughout the day.
The human body is capable of lifting a remarkable amount of weight. Most of our strength for lifting is in our legs, so it's important that you use your legs as much as possible. This will keep the strain off your back and help you to avoid backache and more serious injury. Here are the basics of lifting any object. First, get close to the object. Next, bend at the knees. Keep your back as straight as possible. And finally, lift with your legs. If the object is heavy or bulky, don't try to lift it yourself. Get someone to help you. Before you lift and carry something, be sure your path is clear. Move any debris, equipment, or other objects out of your way first, then carry the item where it needs to go. If it's a large item and you're going some distance with it, use material handling equipment such as a cart. It's easier on you and safer for everyone. You must protect your back when you're at the gang box. Place your legs tight against the box. Reach in and pick up the item and then step away. Don't twist your body. This causes strain on your back. Hold the item in front of you and use your feet to change direction. Use the same technique when you put an item away in the gang box. And use common sense. Place the heavier items such as the chop saw near the top so they won't have to be lifted as far. As long as we're talking about protecting your back, don't jump at work. Even short distance jumps can hurt and cause a back injury. Climb down or step down to the ground. If you do injure your back at work, it needs to be reported immediately. Back injuries are so common and so avoidable that the basics bear repeating. So take a tip from the real lifting pros. Get close to the object. Bend at the knees. Keep your back straight and lift with your legs.
Until the work is done, every job site is a rough, unfinished structure, usually with many floor openings, wall openings, holes, roof edges, and other hazards. You need to be aware of these hazards and take steps to protect yourself and your coworkers. Make sure that proper fall protection is in place before starting work. In general, any opening on the job site that exposes an employee to a fall of 6 feet or more must be protected by fall protection. For most large openings, a guardrail system is used as fall protection. A top rail, 39 to 45 inches off the floor, a mid-rail halfway from the top rail to the floor, and, if it is an upper floor, a toe board at the edge of the floor. Toe boards must be at least 3.5 inches in height. It will keep something from accidentally being rolled or kicked over the edge and down onto the people working below. The guardrail system must be capable of withstanding a force of at least 200 pounds. Be sure guardrails are installed properly. If a cable is used, be sure it's taut and acts as a true barrier and protection against falling. Holes in the floor must be covered, even small ones. Covers for holes must be capable of supporting twice the weight of employees, equipment, and materials. Covers must be color-coded or marked with the word hole or cover to provide warning of the hazard. Secure the cover in place. Don't remove the covering to use it for something else.
A personal fall arrest system is another fall protection option in areas where guardrails are not available or must be removed. If you are unfamiliar with a personal fall arrest system, ask your supervisor for a demonstration before using the equipment. Safety rope must be 5/8 of an inch or larger and capable of supporting 5,000 pounds or more. The tie-off point for a personal fall arrest system must be capable of supporting at least 5,000 pounds per employee attached. Rope grabs must be properly installed, the arrow pointing up for the brake to work properly. The shock absorber end on a shock-absorbing lanyard always hooks to the full-body harness. Warning lines are designed to keep workers away from an unprotected roof edge and must be placed at least 6 feet back from the edge.
Hey, you see that triple atomic ship in fifth inning last night? Like it had eyes. Right through the gap.
We like seeing the cleanup spot. Good move.
Well now, speaking of cleanup.
Oh man, I hope they don't expect us to clean this up.
Somebody's got to do it.
But I didn't make this mess.
Well look, we got to do something or we can't get started in here. Let's just move this over there and by the time we get to the other side, we can probably get somebody up here by then.
All right.
Wherever you work on the job site, you are responsible for the general safety of that area. We call this housekeeping because it involves the overall neatness of the work area. Keep the area that you and others will be moving in free of tools, material, and debris. Stack your materials neatly along a wall. Try to keep tools in stock in one area rather than spread them around throughout the floor. Clean away the debris when it accumulates. When you are finished with that area, or if it is the end of the workday, clean up your work area. Pile up the scrap and debris. Return any unused material or stack it neatly and return your tools to the gang box. If you are unable to clean up the work area, report it to your supervisor before starting work.
Much of our work takes place well off the ground. In these cases, we want you to be safe, secure, and confident, and able to focus on the work at hand. If you are afraid of heights, notify your supervisor. There are 3 types of supports that we should cover: ladders, scaffolding, and aerial lifts. Portable ladders used for construction must be rated Type 1 or Type 1A. These are ladders capable of supporting at least 250 pounds. Do not use aluminum ladders near electrical equipment or power lines. They pose an electrical shock hazard. You'll find 2 types of ladders at the job site. The first is the common step ladder. Use it as it is made to be used. Deploy the ladder, making sure that the spreaders are securely in place. Place the ladder on an even surface and where the floor is clear and free from debris. Inspect the ladder before you use it. Check it to be sure there are no severe cracks, broken steps, missing or loose parts, or other damage. Do not step on the top step or cap. As a rule of thumb, keep your belt buckle inside the side rails. This will keep you from leaning out too far. Keep your hands free when going up or down a ladder, and make sure your foot is squarely on the steps or rungs. For higher work, an extension ladder must be used. Be sure the extension is firmly in place. Extend the ladder at least 3 feet above the deck. This will help you in both getting off and getting back on the ladder. Tie off the ladder near the top. When placing a ladder, remember the 1/4 rule. For every 4 feet in height, the base should be out 1 foot. Thus, a 16-foot extension should have the base out 4 feet. The 2 pieces of an extension ladder must overlap by at least 3 feet.
The second support is scaffolding. The scaffold should be inspected by a trained and qualified person before any work is done from it. Be sure it is built on a solid, even foundation. Typically, this includes a mud sill, base plate, and screw jack. In most states, guardrails must be in place on all work platforms above 10 feet. Some states require a guardrail if the scaffolding is at least 6 feet in height. Don't use the cross braces to get up and down. Use a ladder for access. Inspect for the proper tie-off. Scaffolds must be tied off to the building or secured if the working height exceeds 4 times the base width. On rolling towers, inspect for a diagonal cross brace and planks that are cleated, or that the platforms are secured to the frame. Interior scaffolding, commonly referred to by their brand name as Perry's or Baker's, are an important piece of equipment on most construction sites. They have wheels at the base, allowing you to move the scaffolding without disassembling it. Inspect it before using it. Make sure all the wheels are properly attached to the frame, that it rolls properly, and the brakes work. Check the side rails and end frames for damage, including cracked or broken welds. Make sure the connecting pins are properly seated. Inspect the platform for defects and proper fit, and be sure that it is secured. The platform height should be no greater than 4 times its base width. Use outriggers to create a larger base if you are working at a greater height, or be sure the scaffold is tied off. Check local requirements. Some states require the scaffold to be secured at platform heights above 3 times the base. Inspect the floor area for holes and debris or other hazards. Don't jump off the scaffold. Place your feet squarely on the rungs and go down 1 rung at a time. If you see any problems, correct them or report it to your supervisor.
Aerial lifts are found more and more on job sites. Employees must be trained and experienced before using an aerial lift. Some states require certification to operate lifts. Notify your supervisor if you are unfamiliar with any type of equipment. Before you operate the lift, do an inspection. Check the tires. Most are filled with compressed air, just like the tires on your car, and you don't want to find out you have a blowout when you're 30 feet in the air. Check the ground control system to be sure it's operational. Check for broken or bent guardrails. Take a look at your route first. A piece of plywood will keep a worker from going through a hole but may not support your aerial lift. Select your route ahead of time and watch carefully where you're going. Look for power lines, obstructions, people, and anything else that could be a hazard. Avoid these problem areas if possible. Aerial lifts should be operated on even ground. Be sure you have your hard hat and any other personal protective equipment you'll need. Anyone using a boom-type lift is required to use a personal fall arrest system. And don't operate an aerial lift in high wind conditions or electrical storms.
Far and away, the #1 reason for trips to the medical clinic is work-related cuts. Cuts can come from the tools we use or from the material we're working with. The edges of metal studs and track are often razor sharp. Nearly all metal stock have these sharp edges. Various types of stock are often held together by metal bands, and these bands can be hazardous as well. You can help prevent the biggest cause of accidents by simply being aware of these materials and the potential they have to cause serious cuts. Pay attention to what you're doing. Look for those jagged or sharp edges, and be careful when picking them up, carrying them, and putting them in place. Likewise, be careful with cutting tools, especially knives and saw blades. Stay focused on your work. Hold the tool firmly in one hand and keep the fingers of your other hand out of the way as much as possible. And be sure the blade is sharp. A dull blade will not cut as quickly, cleanly, and easily, and is much more likely to cause an injury. This is a short topic because the solution is simple. Be aware of sharp edges and pay attention to your work.
Electricity is another one of those areas where safeguards are in place both to prevent an accident and to prevent injury if anything goes wrong. But again, it's your responsibility to be sure the work situation is safe and the safeguards are in place. Most temporary power supplies on new construction sites have built-in ground fault circuit interrupters, or GFCIs. Any work where you need an extension cord requires a GFCI. So if there isn't one in place, you'll need a portable GFCI to do your work. Test the ground fault to be sure it's working. Press the test and then the reset button. Check the electrical cord first to be sure it's in good condition. Look for cracks, wear, exposed wires, or anything else that might make it unsafe to use. Don't use any electrical cords where the third or ground prong is missing. If you find anything wrong, report it to your supervisor and get another cord. Most job sites are large open areas, and water will naturally collect there until the roof and walls are finished. The ground fault will help prevent electrical shock from a cord which runs through standing water, but don't take any needless chances. Run your electrical cord around standing water or other sources of water. When working with or near wet conditions, GFCIs are required, even when the power tool is plugged directly into the outlet. Check the power connections for your tools. Make sure the tool's connector also has a ground prong or that it is double insulated. If you see any open electrical panels, report it at once. This is a dangerous situation, and you should work somewhere else until the situation is corrected.
There are many more tools available now than there used to be, and you must know how to operate them and do it safely before you use them. Inspect the tool before using it. As we mentioned in other sections of this video, be sure the cord is in good condition. It must have the ground prong or be double insulated. There are two ways to check for double insulation. It will either say double insulated on the label, or it will have the international symbol for double insulation, a square within a square. If it has a blade, be sure it is in good condition. Test the tool out before using it on the material. For powder-actuated tools, you need to be qualified and authorized before using it. Look at the operator's manual that comes with the tool and be sure you get the proper training before operating it. If you are unfamiliar with the tool or with the job you must use it for, contact your supervisor before starting work. Once again, we need to stress that head and eye protection is very important. One of the most common eye injuries comes from using a drill or screw gun while working overhead. Wear your safety glasses and have your hard hat where it belongs, right on your head.
Certain materials commonly found on any job site are inherently hazardous, and you need to be aware of them and how to protect yourself. When it comes to hazardous chemicals and materials that you'll be working with, you have a right to know what the hazards are. You must be aware that the dangers associated with hazardous chemicals and materials can be found on the Material Safety Data Sheets, or MSDS. An MSDS is available for each hazardous chemical or material, explaining the hazard, what to do in case of an emergency, and other important safety information. Dust on a job site can come from fiberglass, ceiling tile, drywall, wood, styrofoam, sweeping, and other sources. If you are working in an area where a lot of dust is created, you may need to ventilate the area or wear a respirator. By reviewing the MSDS for the product, you will be able to determine the proper respirator you'll need.
Flammable chemicals and materials can include gasoline, caulks, sealants, adhesive solvents, paints, and others. When they come in contact with the skin or eyes, they can cause irritation. The fumes from these flammables can make you sick. When you are filling gas cans, take the can out of the vehicle and place it on the ground. This will prevent the buildup of static electricity, preventing a possible explosion. Work with these materials only in areas that have good ventilation. Some of these products may require the use of safety glasses and safety gloves. Again, review the MSDS for information on required personal protective equipment and pay attention to what you are doing. Compressed gases are such things as oxygen, acetylene, propane, among others. Compressed gases are highly flammable and explosive. Damaged cylinders can become dangerous projectiles. Gases must be used in a well-ventilated area with a fire extinguisher close by. Gas cylinders must be properly stored. Proper storage means an upright position, properly secured. The cylinder is separated from flammables. It is stored outside. This includes both full and empty cylinders. Finally, there must be a fire extinguisher nearby. You will encounter other hazardous chemicals and materials on the job site. After working with certain hazardous chemicals or materials, it will be necessary to wash your hands before eating or smoking. If you need information, ask your supervisor for the MSDS.
There is more to job site safety than being careful, paying attention, and using the right tools and equipment. Today, professionalism and treating everyone with respect is important and expected. Every worker should feel comfortable coming to work and being treated with dignity by a coworker, regardless of his or her age, race, sex, or any other factor unrelated to their performance. 3 areas you must be aware of are harassment, violence, and intimidation.
Man, she is sweet.
Yeah, buddy. Funny, I haven't seen her on this job site.
Well, she's not bad, but they sure don't come dressed like that, though, do they?
This is Jill. Jill, say hello.
I already did.
Hey, sweetheart, when you get done, why don't you come help me clean up the mess in my area?
I really don't want to make a big deal about it, but I feel like if I don't say something, it's just going to keep going on.
But it probably will. I saw the calendar too, and I thought it was offensive. And if he's touching you, that makes it even more serious. You really need to talk to Joe about this.
You think so?
Yeah, he's the foreman, and that's what he's here for. If he handles it, you don't have to confront anyone.
Okay.
Touching a coworker, lewd comments, provocative calendars, and other pictures. None of these have anything to do with working with one another and getting the job done. In this example, the male coworker is an outside contractor, but the standards for behavior are the same. Harassment of any kind is unprofessional, and it's illegal. Report anything that creates a hostile work environment. Doesn't mean that all your coworkers will suddenly be nice and respectful, but the problem will be corrected, and that will create a better work environment for everyone.
Okay, you guys, quick meeting. I just got an earful from the GC, and now you're going to get an earful from me. They're behind schedule. They're saying it's our fault. You guys understand that? Yeah. One more person without guardrail on their scaffold, and they're out of here. Heads are going to roll. It's not going to be mine. Someone's not going to be working here next week. You guys understand that?
Yeah. Yep.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, back to work. What are you guys going to do now?
Any inappropriate behavior on the job site should be addressed and corrected. But violence and the threat of violence, even in a gesture or as a way to let off steam, cannot be tolerated. A gesture which suggests bodily harm could lead to something more serious. Just as with harassment, it creates a hostile work environment and is completely unprofessional. Whether the threat is aimed at you or someone else, report it to your foreman or supervisor immediately.
You treated last time, so tonight I'll pick up the tab.
Wow, that's mighty white of you.
Yeah, just don't take all day getting your white butt off the 3rd floor, because when I'm ready to go, I'm going. I'm not coming up there looking for you.
Hey, I'm not the one who's hard to find in the dark, you know?
How you doing, Bill?
All right. Morning. Morning. Neither one of them seemed to be offended by it. I mean, actually, they seem to like it. I guess that's the routine. But...
And how did you feel about it?
Well, I didn't like it. I mean, not just the stuff thrown at the white guy. I didn't like it at all. I just felt like I should say something.
The worker brought it to my attention, and I'm bringing it to your attention. If you're talking like that around here, you gotta stop.
John, it's none of his business. It had nothing to do with him.
I thought we had free speech in this country. That guy just doesn't get it. Jack is one of my best friends.
Yeah, Ron's all right for a black guy.
That's exactly the kind of stuff I'm talking about. What you guys do off the job site, that's your business. But here, what you say could be misunderstood and encourage other people to say similar things and mean it. Anyway, it makes some people uncomfortable. You guys have to leave it off the job site. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, get back to work.
Nothing needs to be added to this example. Racially or sexually charged conversation is intimidating. Even when two people have no problem bantering with each other in this way, it can make others uncomfortable and lead to something much more serious. Do not engage in any intimidating, harassing, or potentially violent activity yourself. Report any incident, whether it is directed at you or at anyone else, to your foreman or supervisor. When we say we want you to be aware of what you're doing, focus on the task at hand, pay attention, it means we want you to have a general, ongoing sensitivity to safety on the job site. Being safety conscious means looking out for potential problems, reporting them or correcting them yourself. Use common sense, wear the right safety equipment, wear it correctly, and get help if you need it. If you have this kind of safety orientation, you'll take appropriate precautions in other areas, such as wearing a safety belt when operating a company vehicle or even operating your own personal vehicle.
But if anything should happen, such as an accident or injury to you or one of your coworkers, be ready to take appropriate action. Report all work-related injuries to your supervisor immediately. Don't be a cheat. Reporting a false injury claim is like stealing and is a punishable crime. Most work-related injuries must be treated at a company-authorized clinic. See your supervisor regarding your company's policy. In the event of a serious injury, an emergency medical unit should be contacted at once. No drug or alcohol use is permitted on the job, and you must arrive at work free of any influence from drugs or alcohol. A violation of this fundamental rule, or of any of the safety issues we've discussed here, is grounds for disciplinary action, including suspension or even termination.
As we said, construction is a rewarding but a very serious business, and you should approach each job and each task with care for your own safety and that of your coworkers, and the desire to get the job done right.
Follow your company's policies and procedures, especially those related to job site safety. It's all part of being a professional.
Together, we can make each job site as safe as possible.